When I want to store the data and information which is of the large size or a bulk amount or a mass amount of data, at that time we have to go with this secondary memory. The average time which is required in order to find that location and in order to fetch that content which is resides in particular location, we can call that as a access time. Identification of the tracks and sectors are important in order to read and write the content from the magnetic disk. Hello everyone, welcome to the session 4 on input, output and memory devices. Myself Rohini TS, lecturer in computer science, Vidyashram Pre-University College, Mysuru. So before getting into today's session, let me have a recap of previous session. So in my last session, we had a discussion regarding computer memory, right? So why memory is required? That is mainly used to store the data and information which is required further or for the immediate processing of the data that needs to be converted into information, right? So for that purpose, we require memory. Then what are the two types of memory that we have? We had two types of memory, that is primary memory and secondary memory. So in my last class, I have discussed about primary memory, right? So primary memory is nothing but it is volatile in nature. That means what? When the power goes off, whatever the data and instruction is there in the primary memory, everything will get erased. And it is costlier and it will going to store only limited amount of data. But it is so faster. Right? So then what are the types of primary memory we have? So there we have divide this primary memory into two parts, that is RAM and ROM. So when it comes to the RAM, that is random access memory and ROM is read only memory. Then what are the types of RAM we have? That is two types. So that is static RAM and dynamic RAM. So I can call this as SRAM and this as a DRAM. Okay, so static random access memory and dynamic random access memory, and we also had a difference between this static and dynamic. So when it comes to the ROM, so ROM is non-volatile in nature. It will going to store the data and information even though power supply is not on. That is non-volatile in nature. Then what are the types of ROM we have? So there it is classified as PROM and then EPROM. Along with that we have EEPROM. Right? So when it comes to the PROM, that is programmable read-only memory, and when it comes to the EPROM, that is erasable programmable read-only memory. So once the data is written into this PROM, then that cannot be erased, but it can be read as many as time we require. But when it comes to the EPROM, at that time we can erase the data by making use of the UV rays, right? By giving that UV rays to that one, we can erase the content. So then what we have at last, that is EEPROM, electrically erasable programmable read only memory. So instead of giving the UV rays, so we can expose this ROM into the electrical charges that will going to erase the content and we can fill the data whichever we require. So that is regarding the EEPROM. So and also we had a difference between RAM and ROM. So in today's session, we'll see the next part of the computer memory, that is secondary memory. So what do you mean by secondary memory? On what basis we are going to classify the secondary memory and what are the usages? So we'll see one by one. So now we'll see about secondary memory. So when it comes to the secondary memory, so we all know that what do you mean by primary memory, what are its capabilities, how the data will be stored and accessed, everything we know regarding the primary memory. So when it comes to the secondary memory, so secondary memories are mainly used to store the bulk amount of data. So can I store the bulk amount or large amount of data by making use of primary memory? No. It will going to store only the data and instruction which is immediately required for the processing. But when I want to store the data and information permanently, or when I want to store the data and information which is of the large size or a bulk amount or a mass amount of data, at that time we have to go with this secondary memory. So what was the another name for this secondary memory? So this secondary memory is used as a auxiliary memory. So it will going to used as a auxiliary memory. So auxiliary memory in the sense what? It will going to store the data and instruction along with the information which is not immediately required for the processing. So that kind of data and information will be stored by making use of this secondary storage devices, right? So secondary memory is also known as auxiliary memory. So when it comes to the primary memory, it is also known as main memory. Why? Because it will going to hold the data and information which is required immediately for the processing. But in this secondary memory, that is auxiliary memory, it will going to store the data and instruction which is not required for the instant processing of the data and information. So that we can call this as a auxiliary memory, right? So the secondary memories are mainly used to store large amount of data or a mass storage of the program's data or any other information. In order to store large or bulk amount of data, we are going to use the secondary memory. Okay, so when it comes to the secondary memory, here we have a moving part, but that is not in the case of primary memory, right? So it has a much larger capacity than the primary memory or main memory. So when it comes to the main memory, it will going to hold only limited amount of data, right? But what if I want to store the large or bulk amount of data? Then secondary memory will going to help us. So it will going to have the much larger capacity than this primary memory or a main memory. So this secondary memory will going to retain the information once stored on it. So what it will going to do? It is non-volatile in nature. Whether it is volatile and non-volatile, it must be non-volatile in nature, because it will going to hold the data and instruction permanently. So which is not required for the immediate processing. That data and instruction will be stored in the secondary memory. Okay, so whatever the data and instruction that I am going to store, by making use of this secondary memory, that will remain constant, or that will be remain same until I am going to delete. So that is the main advantage of this secondary memory. So that we can call this as a non-volatile memory. It has more capacity than the primary memory. It will going to store bulk amount of data or a mass amount of data. So then which are the secondary memory we have? So when it comes to the types or examples of secondary memory, we can see that we have a hard disk drive, compact disk, that is nothing but CD, then pen drive and memory cards are most commonly used secondary storage devices, right? So now we'll see secondary storage is also called as backup storage. So why it is called as backup storage? Because whatever the data and information is stored with the help of this secondary memory will retain as it is even though power supply is not on. So that we can say this as a backup memory, right? Then you have to remember one thing. If I want to process any of the data and information by making use of the computer, then it has to be in the memory. Then in which memory it has to be? It has to be in the primary memory. But I have my data and information in the secondary memory. Then how the computer will going to execute that data and information which is resides in the secondary memory? So for that now we have to copy the content of secondary memory to the primary memory. Then only computer will going to have access to this primary memory. Then it will going to process the data. So once it is done with its processing, then you can choose that whether your data wants to be in primary memory or a secondary memory. Okay, so if I want to access or if I want to process the data and information, then whatever the data and information which is resides in the secondary memory, that needs to be moved to the primary memory. Then only computer will going to access the data and information which is resides in the primary memory. Then how we are going to access that data by making use of this secondary memory? What we are going to call for that? We'll see now. So what is the average time which is required in order to reach the storage location and it will going to obtain its contents is called as access time. So what is access time? So the average time which is required to reach the storage location and obtain its contents. So as I discussed, it must be copied to the primary memory. So at that time what it will going to do? It will going to fetch its location where the data and information is stored and what are all the content it includes. So the average time which is required in order to find that location and in order to fetch that content which is resides in particular location, we can call that as a access time. Okay, so access time is nothing but it is an average time which is required in order to reach the particular location where the contents are reside. So that is mainly used for the processing. So that is known as what? Access time. And we know that we can perform two operations on this memory, that is read and write. So as I discussed earlier, read in the sense we are going to fetch the content which is resides in the memory. Write in the sense we are going to copy the content of any other devices to the computer memory. That is nothing but write. So read in the sense we are going to fetch the data and information from the memory to any other devices. But when it comes to the write, at the time we are going to copy the content or information or a data, anything that will be copied from any other devices to the computer's memory. That is nothing but write operation. Getting? So then how can we access the secondary storage devices? Then I told you that you have to copy the content of that secondary memory to the primary memory. Then only you can have a ability to access the data for the processing. Then how we are going to access the storage devices? So there we have two methods. It could be either sequential access or a direct access. The information which is stored on the storage devices can be accessed in the two methods, that is sequential access and direct access. So when it comes to the sequential, so sequential in the sense linear. Okay, so for example, here I have a memory block and each memory block has its unique address, right? So when it comes to the sequential access, the data and information which is resides and which I want to access by making use of the sequential access method, at that time it will going to reach one block at a time. So that means it will going to reach the first data which is resides in this 101 memory block, then it will move to this 102 and it will again move to 103. It will going to perform in a linear manner, that is sequential in nature. That means it will going to access the data and information one by one. So we cannot go randomly. Okay, so we have to reach a particular location, then only we can fetch or we can access that data, right? So when it comes to the sequential accessing, so this means that data is written or a read in a sequential. So that is one after another. So here it can be either read or write operation. So read or a write operation. Okay, so whether you are copying the content to memory devices or you are fetching the content from memory devices, that may differ, but it has to take place sequentially. That means one after another has to be takes place. So we cannot directly go to a particular location and we cannot read or write the data which is presented in a particular location. It has to be in the serial manner. It has to be one by one. So that is regarding sequential access. Then which is the example? That is magnetic tape. So in magnetic tape, we have to access the data and information which is resides in that magnetic tape sequentially. Okay, whether if you want to read or write the content of this magnetic tape, then it has to follow sequential access method. So now we'll see about direct access. So as the name indicates, direct access in the sense what? I can fetch the data or I can read or write operation can be performed wherever the location we require. That is random in nature. Okay, so that is not so restrictive. No need to be go in a sequential manner. If I want to fetch the data from one location to any other location, that can be happened with the help of this direct access method. So direct access devices are the one which any piece of the data can be retrieved in a non-sequential manner. So that means the location may differ. So you can go to the first location, later you can move to the 10th location, like that. There is no restriction over accessing of the data by making use of this direct access method. So these kind of methods are called, or the devices is called as random access, because it is random in nature. There is no restriction over the accessing of the data from a first location to the last location, so that it will be called as a random access, because any data can be taken or a read from any location, or it can be written to any other location. Then which is the example for this kind of accessing method? That is magnetic disk. Magnetic disk is a example for this accessing of a storage device by making use of direct access method. So mainly secondary storage devices are used to store the bulk amount or a large amount of data. Then which are the examples we had? That is, it can be either magnetic disk, optical disk, or any other portable media. So now we'll see about magnetic disk. So if you look into this image, you can get to know that how the magnetic disk is manufactured and it is configured, right? So as I discussed earlier, primary memory doesn't contain any moving parts, but when it comes to the secondary storage media, it will going to have a moving part, right? So the magnetic disk are the thin circular plastic plates on which some magnetic material is coated. So how it is configured? So magnetic disk is nothing but it is a thin circular plastic plates on which some magnetic material is coated. So why we require this magnetic material? In order to store the data and information, for that purpose. So you have to understand one thing. So we are all working with a storage medium only to store the data and information, whether it can be either temporarily basis or a permanently basis. So based on that context, we are using all these devices, right? So it is a thin circular plastic plates and which has some magnetic material which is coated on that plastic plates. Okay, so magnetic disk comes in various sizes and various materials. So it comes with a various sizes along with the various materials. Then how this magnetic disk will going to work, we'll see now. So when it comes to the magnetic disk, already I have discussed that it is a circular plastic plate. So that is coated with magnetic material. Whatever the data and information that we have, that will be stored on that magnetic disk. So the central shaft going to rotates at a speed of about 7,200 revolution per minute. It will going to rotates with a speed of 7,200 revolution per minute. Then in a disk plate, information is stored on the both surfaces. If you look into that image or a magnetic disk, it has a two surfaces. Right? So in two surfaces also it will going to store the data, and the surface is further divided into number of invisible concentric circle that is called as tracks. So for example, here it is a thin circular plates, right? So that circular plate has a invisible concentric circles. So that is known as what? Tracks. That is known as tracks. So what is tracks now? So tracks and sectors, very important question for 1 mark and 2 mark question. Define tracks or define sectors. That is important. Then what is track? So you know that this plate will going to store the information that will be stored on the both the surfaces. Okay. So it has two surfaces or two sides. It will be stored the data and information in the both the surfaces. The surface is further divided into number of invisible concentric circle. So that tracks are further divided into number of various sections. That sections are called as sectors. For example, here I have a magnetic disk and it is divided into number of invisible concentric circle. So I can call that circle as a tracks, right? So these concentric circles are further divided into number of sections. So that sections are called as sectors. So that called as sectors. Getting? So we have a magnetic plate and that will be further classified or divided into number of invisible concentric circles. That circles are nothing but tracks, and tracks are further divided into number of surfaces, or it will be divided into number of sections. So that sections are called as sectors. So this is very, very important question for your examination. What is tracks and sections or sectors? So why these tracks and sectors are important for us? So when we are working with this magnetic disk, we need to store the data. For that purpose only we are using this magnetic disk. So if I want to store the data and information, then I must know where the data and information to be located, in which track and in which sector. So that identification of the tracks and sectors are important in order to read and write the content from the magnetic disk. So, in order to store the information, it is necessary for us to identify the track and sector where it has to be stored. So, we need to find the location, right? So, then only we can fetch the data and then only we can write the content to that place. So, that identification of the tracks and sections or sectors are very, very important, right? The stored information can be read any times or any number of times, but it will going to write the content only once. But what if you want to write the content one more time? At that time, it will going to erase the previously written content and it will going to load or store new data. So that means what? Whatever the data is there previously, everything will get erased when you try to copy the new content. So that is what they meant. The stored information can read any number of times without affecting the stored data. So we know that what is read and write. So read in the sense, I am going to copy the content of this magnetic disk to any other devices. So I can read the content of that magnetic disk any number of times I require. But when it comes to the write operation, so when the new data is written, it will going to erase the previously written data. So that is the disadvantage of this magnetic disk. So I need to perform the read operation as many times I require. But when I am trying to write a new content to the magnetic disk, at that time it will going to erase all the content which is resides previously. Then only it will going to make the space. Then we can write the content to the magnetic disk. Then what are the types of magnetic disk we have? That is hard disk and a floppy disk. So we'll see what you mean by hard disk and what is floppy disk. So when it comes to the hard disk, it is the most fastest and it will going to store the large amount of data. So the most common physical device for storing the files in the hard disk. So it has a high capacity and high storage ability. So the hard disk typically contains several rotating plates, so which are permanently will going to encased in the hard disk. So there is, if I consider this as a hard disk, at that time what it will going to have? So that has a several rotating plates. So that plates will going to hold the data and information permanently. Then the surfaces of the plates are covered by metal oxide. So when it comes to the magnetic disk, so it will be covered with the help of this metal oxide. So that is electromagnetic recording heads will be there. Okay, so if we consider hard disk, that has a rotating disk plates and that plates are coated by metal oxide. So that plates are covered or coated by the material of metal oxide, that is electromagnetic recording heads. So then what are the operations that I can perform? So it will going to perform read and write operation. So with the help of this hard disk, we can also content, so that means we can also copy the content from this hard disk to any other devices, or also we can copy the content from any other devices to the hard disk. Then how will be the revolution per minute? So it is same like a magnetic disk. So because this hard disk comes under only magnetic disk, how the revolution will going to happen? That is, it will going to take around 7,200 revolution per minute. So it will be going to revolve 7,200 times per minute. So when it is rotating, at the time we can perform read or write operation. So if I want to perform read or write operation, it is mandatory to find the tracks and sectors. So when I find the tracks and sectors, then only I can fetch the location in order to read or write. So that is the mandatory thing. We have to find the location of the tracks and sectors where the data to be written, from where the data has to be received or to be read. Okay. So then what is the storage capacity of this hard disk? So it will going to typically hold 260 GB to 1000 GB. So that is nothing but terabytes. Okay, so of that data, terabytes of data can be stored by making use of this hard disk. So if you look into this image, here we have a tracks and we have a spindle, then read or write head is there and access arm is there, then platters, tracks along with a spindle. Okay, so these are all the tracks. So the concentric circulars are called as track, and it is further divided into number of sectors. So we need to find the location of a particular place where the data has to be written or from where the data has to be read. So this head, that is read or write head, will going to have a control over this rotation or revolution per minute. So when it reaches to the particular location, at that time the reading or writing operation will going to takes place. So this is regarding hard disk. So let me move on to the floppy disk. So floppy disk, it is very portable and it can carry with our pockets, right? So floppy diskette, which contains a single flat piece of circular plate. So this floppy disk contains a single flat piece of circular plate. So I can call that plate as a disk. How it will be coated? So it is same as the previous one. It is coated with metal oxide and enclosed in the plastic cover. So if you look into this image, so it has a circular plate, we can call that as a disk that is coated with metal oxide and that will be covered with a plastic. So that is plastic cover is enclosed to the floppy disk. Okay. So if I want to use this floppy disk, then it has to be with floppy drives. So floppy drives will going to have a access to the floppy disk. So that will be the same thing for the hard disk also. If I want to have the access to the hard disk, then there must be hard drive, right? So floppy disks are small in size and it is portable. So as I told earlier, you can take the floppy disk in your pocket. So that amount of size it has, and it is small in nature and it can be portable. Then what are the variations or what are the sizes it has? So when it comes to the sizes, it has 3.5 inches and 5.25 inches and 8 inches of diameter. So that is the size or a variation of this floppy disk. Then the most commonly used floppy disk is 3.5 inches in size. Very, very important. Standard of floppy disk is 3.5 inches and that has a storage capacity of 1.44 MB of the data. So if you look into that MB, now we can get to know that it is no of use for these situations or for this generation, because that amount of data is small now. So in order to store 1.44 MB of data, then it is of no use. So that floppy disk are nowadays, it's not so useful and we are not so using this floppy disk, right? So the disk drives for the floppy disk are called floppy drives. So this floppy drives will going to provide an interface or a pathway in order to access the data and information which is located in this floppy disk. So when it comes to the accessing speed of this floppy disk, it is slower than the hard disk. Okay, so hard disk will going to fetch the details. That means read and write operation can be takes place in a faster manner with regards to the hard disk. But when it comes to the floppy disk, it has a slower access time. So as I discussed, access time is nothing but that is an average time. Then it will going to find the location and it will going to fetch the content of that location. The whatever the time which is required, I can call that as a access time, right? For that access purpose, it will be slower and it is less expensive. That is, it is cheaper in cost. So this is regarding floppy disk. So it's all about today's session. So in today's session, I have discussed what do you mean by secondary storage device, so why it is required, and what is magnetic disk. So that magnetic disk is also one of the type of storage device. Under the magnetic disk, we had a discussion regarding floppy disk and hard disk along with its characteristics and what will be the size of each device and what is the storage capacity and how the RPM, that is how the revolution per minute will going to take place in order to perform the read and write operation. So in my next session, I will be discussing regarding optical disk. So what are the optical disks consist of and how it will be categorized, so and how it will be useful in order to store the large amount of data. Along with that, we are going to have a look on cache memory and then difference between the primary memory and secondary memory. Until that, keep learning, keep on growing. Thank you very much.